Morgan almost broke her tailbone rollerblading. But we'll get to that. First, the GoPro 8 Max is here. But the real question is, how does this camera compare to the current king of 360, the Insta360 1X? And today's gonna be kind of a first look on the Max and a first look at the comparison between the two, because there's gonna be many videos really going back and forth between the two of these, the pros, the cons, and all of that. But today I wanna get a really good baseline for the Hero Max, talk about some of the physical features, the differences between the Max and the Fusion, differences between the Max and the Insta360 1X, and then later we'll get into more detailed comparison. Before we get into that though, I wanna thank everybody that joined me for the live GoPro giveaway last Friday. It was super fun with you guys. Going live it's a bit nerve-wracking just having that many people watching you live saying every word with none of these cool jump cuts where I can say something stupid and just cut it out. But I'm even more grateful to the 170 or so of you that hung out after the giveaway for like 45 minutes and we just chatted and answered questions, and yeah, thank you. On that note though, let me know if you guys want to see more live videos. I will for sure work on the quality because it was total potato. So if we do more of a regular live sort of hangout thing, like maybe Fridays at 5 p.m. Let me know what you think. I will for sure look into upping the quality level and making sure that it's worthy. But let me know if you guys want to make that kind of more of a regular thing around here, and we'll do that. And lastly, of course, hit that like button on this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and comment below. Tell me about your day. Let me know something other than comment below. I still don't get that whole thing, but thanks for that. All right, let's get into the GoPro Hero 8 Max. I don't have it to compare to, but right away you can see that physically it's much smaller than the GoPro Fusion was. And honestly, it's not a whole lot bigger than a GoPro Hero 8. Maybe 2 GoPro Hero 8s make a Max. Not even 2, maybe 1.5 GoPros is a Hero 8 Max. It's basically a smaller version of the GoPro Fusion, GoPro's previous 360 camera. Add a touch screen. That's right, the GoPro Hero 8 Max has a touch screen where you can see your settings, you can roughly see your shot and review some footage, you can review photos in there pretty well, but mainly you can review all your settings, you can go through there, and it is so much better and easier than this tiny little screen that the Insta360 1X gives us, and these 2 little buttons. Dealing with the menus on the 1X might be one of the things that drives me most nuts about it. That touchscreen is also super helpful when you switch into Hero mode, which is where the camera switches from being a 360 camera with one touch, and now it's just a normal GoPro. Just shooting out of one lens. I can switch lenses, so right now it's shooting this way. I just, with one tap, I flip it around, and now it's shooting right back at you. And another tap, and bam, it's shooting back at me again. Right, there it is, shooting at me. And in the short amount of testing that I've already done with the Max, that touch screen has come in handy a ton of times. It's just so much better to be able to confirm and see exactly what I'm shooting, exactly the settings that I'm in, and then hit record. It's also much better than the 1X in bright sunlight. In bright sunlight, the 1X screen becomes almost unreadable. A lot of times I end up kind of cupping it to be able to see what settings I'm in or if I'm still recording or not. And with the GoPro Max, it's a touch screen, it's a GoPro. You can see it super clearly, super easy. Other physical features of note on here is the battery door on this side, and the battery door on the Max is brilliant, really. It has this little switch on here. You press the switch down and then keep pushing, the door slides open and it opens up. It is also a removable door, so I'm wondering if they're gonna have some sort of media mod for this in the future. Who knows? They definitely haven't talked about that, but the door is removable for some reason. Come on, get back on there. Also of note though is the battery itself is a different battery from the Hero 8 Black. So this is not your normal Hero 7, Hero 8 battery. This is its own battery for the Max, which means I only have one battery right now, and I carry around a battery bank to charge it up because I didn't want to buy a bunch of batteries yet. I don't even know if I like it. Now up to the lenses. This is where they did something genius and really subtle. But if you check out the lenses on this thing, there's a little bit of a lip on there. So they don't go flat too like the Insta360 One X. See how on the Insta360 One X there's kind of no lip there. There's just lens straight to camera. On the GoPro, there's quite a bit of a lip. You can actually grab your fingernail under there, and that's nice because they gave us lens caps. And these lens caps just pop right on there, and they stay on there almost too well. They're a little tough to get off, but they work. And it's nice that they gave us lens caps because I can pop these things on there, throw this thing in my bag, and pull it out, be able to still do things on the screen, be able to mess around with the battery, lay it down between stuff, and it's totally fine. Whereas the One X, when it's out of this case, I treat this thing so babyish, it's ridiculous. As soon as it's out, I'm like, oh geez, change the battery, do something, and I put it right back in the case. I'm very protective of the lenses on the One X since I already broke one. The other sweet thing they included in the box was this suede bag. But in these two little secret pouches are these guys. Check that thing out. These are lens protectors while you're actually shooting. So I could be shooting the GoPro and have this over the lens, protecting it. So while I'm out and about, if it drops and it falls, this thing gets scuffed by the concrete and not my lens. Boom, check that thing out. So now the lens dome protector thingamabobbers are installed on there. The one issue that I've already seen with them is that they get dirty really easily, and especially in certain lighting situations, they're gonna reflect and you're gonna see some flare because it's so far away from the lens. There's not that really tight closeness. It's a kind of a more of a dome vibe. They're also not super easy to get off. The other nice thing that I see with that ability is potentially somebody could come up with a glass version or like a higher quality, because these are just plastic. I can feel it, it's just cheap ass plastic. And the rule when you're shooting cameras is whatever the cheapest bit that you're shooting through, that's the quality you're gonna get. So a plastic lens over your footage probably is gonna be great for it, but if you know you're gonna be putting this into a risky situation, maybe you're gonna like give it to somebody that's gonna go on a half pipe and they're gonna hold it, maybe put these things on there first. But get a rocket blower, that'll help. Other physical features of note on this thing are the massive microphones. That's a microphone on the front, that's a big old microphone on the back, and a big old microphone on the side. So there's 3 microphones on this thing, and they are massive. Oh, it also has the little foldy feet like the GoPro 8, so no frame needed. This thing just goes straight to a GoPro mount. Really easy. And lastly, but most important, no, not most important, but very important, the GoPro Hero 8 Max is waterproof, which is probably the main thing that I wish the One X did besides the screen thing. So maybe the second thing that I wish the One X did that now the GoPro Max does. It is waterproof down to 5 meters, but it's not made for underwater use. So if you're in a pool and you're above water filming with this thing and it gets wet or it gets dunked, no big deal. If you want to take it out surfing, you totally can. But it's not designed for underwater filming because the stitch line gets all messed up underwater with light refracting how it does. The Insta360 solves that with something that they have called a dive housing, which is basically something that kind of grips down here, but then it's a big old dome that goes around it. That works awesome, and hopefully somebody comes out with something like that for the GoPro Max, because it can go in the water and underwater, but it can't really film underwater, or it doesn't look any good. But really sweet that it's waterproof, because again, the Insta360 One X, not waterproof. If I want it to be even protected, I need this big old honkin' venture case, and then you deal with all the issues that you deal with cases like condensation getting in there and it getting all crapped up, which it does. I don't like the venture case, not a fan. I just want this to be waterproof. So with all that said, everything that I just talked about with the GoPro Max and everything that we already know about the Insta360 One X, physically, in just the pure physical category, which camera would I prefer? The GoPro Max. Again, mainly because of the screen and the waterproof ability. I do like the form factor better of the One X. I like that it's this kind of long, thin form factor. The big chunky block of the GoPro feels kind of funky, but I'm kind of used to it just because of using other GoPros. But yeah, if I could choose my dream 360 camera, I would take this camera, make it waterproof, and just put a big ol' honkin' touchscreen on the front there. That would be sweet. But in lieu of that, in the physical category, GoPro Max gets the win. But a camera is much more than just a thing to look at. How does it actually perform? How's the video quality on this camera? And here's where we can jump to a little bit of side-by-side footage that we created with the Insta360 One X and GoPro Max while Morgan and I were rollerblading the other day. Our friends Sarah and CJ watched Eleanor while Morgan and I went on a date, and we thought rollerblading would be a sweet way to show off these cameras, and we haven't done it in like 2 years and thought it would be fun. Okay, here's that quick side-by-side of us rollerblading. Oh, this is a really solid audio test because it is solidly windy at the beach. There's wave noise and we're rollerblading. Insta360 audio test. How does the Insta360 sound? GoPro Max audio test. How does the GoPro sound? Honey, say something. See if either of them can pick you up. That's what you said? So which one did you like better? Did you like the Insta360 footage or the GoPro footage better? Kind of the notes that I have on things, the Insta360 footage looks flatter, looks a little bit more detailed, there's a little bit more sharpness on the Insta360 One X, although I have both settings in the flattest modes that each camera does with the sharpness turned all the way down on both cameras. And yeah, there just seemed to be more detail in the 360 One X video. While the GoPro Max, I think the colors are a little truer to life, and because of that, I think a lot of people are gonna like the footage that comes out of this camera more than they like the footage that comes out of this camera. But in my opinion, the footage coming out of the One X is more editable in post than the GoPro Max footage. There's more dynamic range. Because of that flat profile, it allows me a little more leeway to do some things with the footage, and the GoPro Max footage is a little bit more restricting because of the lack of dynamic range. But quality-wise, I'd say they're damn near equal, so it's more just a preference thing. So in the video quality department, we're gonna give them a tie. What about audio quality though? The GoPro Hero Max has got 3 massive microphones, while the One X has a little hole there, some holes on top, and a hole on the back. 2 holes on the back. That looks like a microphone too. And yeah, hands down, the GoPro Max is way better with audio. The One X does a decent job when there's not a lot of wind going on, there's not a lot of background noise in the scene, there's just your voice. I would say it does a decent job with audio, not great. But the GoPro Max surprised me at how well, even in a super windy scenario, we're rollerblading down the boardwalk, it's a super windy day, it's still honed in on my voice enough to where if I bring that into post, I can get rid of that wind noise kind of no problem, and it sounded like more of a shotgun mic on my voice, killing out everything that was behind me, and yeah, I'm impressed. I did not expect that from a GoPro 360 camera. So for audio quality, if you're looking to vlog with these 2 cameras, GoPro Max. Yeah, that one's easy. That's for sure the GoPro. But there's one category with 360 cameras that I think is more important than any other category, and that's ease of use. See, 360 cameras are just kind of naturally intimidating. The idea that there's so much more work involved before you even get to the point where you're ready to edit your video. You go out, you shoot the video, but then you have to export it from the camera to somewhere to edit, like your computer or your phone. Then you have to actually do the editing of reframing the video and all that. Then you have to export that then transfer it maybe to your computer from your phone, and then you can edit a video with that footage. And by far, the reason I keep reaching for my GoPro over the 360 camera is just that. With a GoPro, I go out, I film exactly what I want to shoot at, bring it into post. Maybe I missed the shot because it wasn't 360, but maybe I got the shot, I edit up what I have, and boom, I have a video. Which is a bummer because I'm a huge proponent of 360 cameras and 360 being the future of action cameras. With the GoPro Max and the Insta360 One X, they both have an app on your phone where you can edit and reframe the footage, as well as an app on the computer where you can do that. I think that the apps on your phone are way better, way faster, mainly because of something that Insta360 calls viewfinder mode and GoPro Max calls over capture. And that's basically where you pull up the footage on your phone, you enter into a recording mode where you're recording within that 360 world, and then wherever you look while you record is what's reframed. So it captures that information and then you export that as a video that looks like you took it with a GoPro. But the main differences between these two cameras in that whole workflow, the Insta360 One X gives you a cable that you can run to your phone and transfer the footage. So with this rollerblading footage, I had about 40 minutes of footage that I needed to get from my camera to my phone. On the Insta360 One X with the cable, that was super fast, maybe 5-7 minutes. And if you don't have that cable, you can do Wi-Fi on the Insta360 One X, but the GoPro Max only has Wi-Fi. And on a Wi-Fi transfer, that 40 minutes of footage took almost 20 minutes to transfer because the file sizes are just that big when you're in max resolution. And overall, I think the process with Insta360, using the Insta360 app, is just better. It's a little bit more intuitive, it makes a little bit more sense, and it's a lot faster using that cable to transfer your files rather than just Wi-Fi. Saving a little bit of time in that whole process is really, really important. And while I'm shocked to say it because I've always liked GoPro's apps, the Insta360 has a better app and a better workflow overall. So at this point, which camera would I recommend to somebody that's looking for a 360 camera? Even for all of its shortcomings, I think the camera that I would grab most is still the Insta360 One X. It's $100 cheaper at $400, where the Max sits at $500. And really my only caveat on that is if you're gonna be around water a lot. So if you're shooting in lakes and rivers and the ocean a lot, then I would say spend the money on the Max. Because if it's just a choice between the One X and the Max, I choose the One X. But if it's a choice between the One X in the Venture case versus the Max, I choose the Max all day. And that's what I'll be doing. If I go wakeboarding or surfing or anything like that, I'll be grabbing the Max. And then for day-to-day stuff, I'll probably grab the One X just because that workflow is just a little bit easier, and a little bit easier with a lot of footage is a lot of time. But like I said, this is about a week of using these two cameras side by side. So I'm gonna keep going, keep testing it with all sorts of other stuff, and we'll see if my mind changes. It could, it might, it has before. All right, now what you've all been waiting for, Morgan's little fall on her tailbone. Let me give you guys like a proper setup. So it was the 13th of November, I believe, a couple of days before my birthday. So we went on this little rollerblade date and we wound up at Pizza Port, just grabbing a beer, hanging out. And while at Pizza Port, I got a Venmo from my mom, like a good amount of money. I was like, whoa, what the heck? And it said, for your birthday, go get something, Morgan will tell you what. And Morgan proceeds to tell me that her and my mom have conspired to get me my dream surfboard for my birthday, which I'm like blown away by. But we have to hurry because we have to go get the surfboard before going back and picking up Eleanor from CJ and Sarah's house. So we leave Pizza Port in a bit of a hurry on our rollerblades. And mind you, Morgan is like pumped up in her mind. Like she's like, oh, I surprised him, I did it. So she's just rearing to go. And at one point she gets out in front of me. I'm filming with both 360 cameras and she thinks to herself, you know what would be really cool right now? If I did a jump. And here's what that looked like. Oh, no, you okay? Did you try to do a jump? Is it your butt?
No, it's my elbow.
Your elbow? Which one?
Yeah,
Your right?
my butt.
You okay?
so stupid.
So stupid? You feel embarrassed?
Oh, I'm for sure bleeding.
You think you're bleeding from your butt or from your elbow?
My elbow.
Your elbow's bleeding?
My butt is also pretty bad.
Do you know why I will make you wear wrist guards now? Let's see it. Oh, it's not even bleeding. What are you talking about? No blood at all.
Okay.
What about your butt?
Probably.
Honey, I feel like you just made this vlog so much better. Do you feel like that?
I did.
In your mind, are you like,
cry.
oh man, that's why I didn't cry?
But the wrist guards did save me. Look.
They saved your palms.
Do you see how much they got?
Yeah, they got jacked.
Yeah.
And that would have been your hands and your wrists.
Ooh, my ass is gonna hurt.
Yeah, it is. This is how we stop when we go down hills. Morgan just cruises, and I stop her with her belt. You remember in TV? I was doing that every time.